Hello and welcome to CATSweek. I'm Annalise Poorman. On March 31st at the Monroe County Board of Health meeting, public health nurse Amy Meek gave an update on COVID-19 vaccinations.
Well, good evening. I just wanted to give you a quick update for the public health clinic. First of all, the 50 plus extra dose for COVID has rolled out, and we're seeing an increase in vaccine appointments now at the clinic. Starting April 1st, instead of going to rshot.in.gov to schedule online, customers can just call the office and schedule like they would any other vaccine. And that's how we plan on things kind of rolling out, unless something changes. From here on out, COVID vaccines will just be given at the same time as they're given with any other vaccine.
Indiana University Vice Provost of External Relations, Kirk White, shared that cases of COVID-19 are low enough that they will suspend mandatory testing for unvaccinated individuals. He also said that they are adding vending machines to make voluntary testing kits more accessible.
Some of our changes, though, because the numbers have decreased so much and because of our high vaccination rate, we're going to suspend the mandatory mitigation testing that everybody's been doing that were unvaccinated. So up to this point this semester, unvaccinated students, faculty, and staff were required to come in and get a weekly mitigation test. We're going to suspend that effective tomorrow, as long as the numbers stay as they are. However, we will continue offering voluntary testing and symptomatic testing.
Executive Director of Indiana Recovery Alliance, Nicholas Voiles, gave an update on the program's work in the community.
This last year alone, we have over 2,400 reversals of fatal overdoses, from our Narcan to peer-to-peer reversals. We have put Narcan in as many places as we can. There are now 8 Nalox boxes that I got and helped Danielle put into Crawford House. There'll be more put in Kinzer Flats. So as much as we can saturate this town with naloxone to save lives is what I'm planning to do. We just got a bunch of new staff. So when I came in, I just, I needed help. It wasn't something I could run on my own. So we hired some development staff and some outreach workers. We now have 2 outreach workers who are going out 3 afternoons a week to the camps, to Kinzer Flats, until we can get something more stable out. And in any place we see any need, they are, for the most part, not distributing syringes. They're distributing like aid, wound care, naloxone, stuff like that. Mostly as much naloxone as we can pump into this community. We have seen a huge rise in people in our, we used to have about 2,000 to 3,000 a year. We now have 5,000 encounters a year of people coming in and needing help of some form or another. We have referred hundreds to treatment. We started a new pilot program where we get people with HCV or HIV into rapid care through Positive Link. So when they come in, they'll ask about it or they'll have had a test. We send them to a dedicated person who will soon be on site in our building, and they run them through a real quick cascade of care, which is where we lose most unhoused people and people in chaotic use. They can't make the different meetings or something happens. So we're shortening that with telehealth and with an on-site nurse that'll be there a couple hours each day. If we get a bigger need, we'll keep her longer, but we're just going to have to see how it plays out. We're starting a COVID vaccination hesitancy. We got a grant to see why are people not taking these vaccines? Is it feasible? Is what they're thinking right, or is it wrong? How can we debunk these myths that folks think? One person told me Jesus told him not to take it. One person told me that he's scared it's going to turn him into a chimera. Another person. So how do we physically, how do we actually debunk these myths for these people? Well, for me, it always worked with science and fact, so that's what we're going to do. We're starting this program as of next month, where we'll be going in and taking, surveys. We'll probably survey everybody who comes to the IRA, and then we'll disseminate those with focus groups and try to key into some of the population so that we can then debunk all of these, and get people vaccinated if they need it, and start to push this. We're not going to give them, we want you to take it or don't want you to take it. We want you to have the facts so you can make the decision for your own, not based on something you created or something that might not be real.
Board member Carol Tolukian commented on what Indiana Recovery Alliance is able to do for Monroe County.
What you're doing is really important in terms of the harm reduction part of it. I just am a little concerned about, one of the biggest parts, if we can get people to recover, that's good. I'm just concerned about what's available in the community. And I think it's such a huge piece of what you can offer.
Voiles agreed that there is a need for more services to be available.
Yeah, so we offer a non-biased harm reduction support group every Sunday night that has no 12 step. People have a hard time with 12 steps sometimes, and so it just is just aid and support. There is no 12 steps, no guidelines. It is just coming and supporting. You know what I mean? And it's been the change for a lot of people. But we need more. Yeah, but there are 1,000 things I'd love to do for this community. We definitely have a huge need. And thus probably needing a bigger place, more money to hire better staff, Pretty soon we're getting ready to hire a syringe service manager, which will lift me out of doing both jobs. I've been doing both jobs until now. So hopefully that'll free me up to do more stuff as well. But you're right. You're right. We are desperately always in need of more services.
The next Board of Health meeting will be held on May 5th. On March 30th, at the Monroe County Commissioners meeting, Chief Deputy Clerk Tree Martin asked the commissioners to approve updated 2022 primary election day polling sites.
You have previously okayed some polling sites for us to this election, but we've had some fallout since then. So we've had to do some shuffling and finding new areas. We've lost 3 locations and we've picked up 2 locations. We're going to use the elections operations, the Napa building, on election day, and we're also going to use North High School for the first time in many years. We're using North High School. So we have every precinct taken care of, but we have changed the sites around.
Martin explained that the other available options in the area were either previous polling sites that did not want to host again, or they were not compliant with the Help America Vote Act.
North High School has absorbed 3 of the sites, so that does help. And it is right downtown, great parking.
Yes, it is.
Anything else that we've found in that area, we've used before, and they no longer want to use for us to use them, or they're not HAVA compliant.
The commissioners approved the update to the polling sites unanimously. Martin also asked the board to approve funds for a primary election advertisement not to exceed $2,353.
This is my favorite part of elections, getting that postcard out. We're not mandated to send postcards out when we change precincts, but we feel that it best serves the public. We've designed a postcard that has front and back information. On one side, it tells you about early voting, how to get to the location. It tells you your precinct, and it also tells you your voting location on election day. So we've packed a lot of information on one card. We do have bulk rate mailing, which does help. We are not sending that card to every voter in Monroe County. We're sending the card to every registered household. So everybody won't receive, like if you live in a house with 5 registered voters, you're only going to get 1 card for that location. Roughly, we have like almost 100,000 people that are registered to vote. 52,000 cards will go out. So we think it's a good cost saving money. Plus it's, advertisement to get out and vote. And the cards are very colorful. They're red, white, and blue.
Commissioner Julie Thomas said that she thinks the advertisement is especially helpful for students.
I also appreciate this, and I think with students especially, it's important.
Yes.
Because this is a very sort of unfamiliar place to some of them. So I do appreciate that. I think it's a good move.
The commissioners approved the agreement unanimously. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
For hurting families in Monroe County.
A contribution to children who are vulnerable and in need of an advocate.
A staff that goes above and beyond to support and advocate for children in need of services.
the web of remarkable people who are dealing with difficult situations.
So many young people that are in need of help and trying to find a stable family, a stable place to live. Without the CASAs to make that happen, many of them would be unable to find a good home.
I love being that voice for the child who can't speak for themselves in court.
It takes me out of my comfort zone, and it also helps others.
CASA means supporting our community.
Being a CASA is making sure that your village is healthy and whole, and that the children in your village will someday be able to help the village as well.
A child who doesn't have a voice, maybe in their family situation or a school situation, now has a voice that can advocate for them.
I really enjoy working with children that are going through difficult times and letting them know that I care about their future.
We are privileged with our charge of representing the best interest of children. And so therefore we can advocate for exactly what they need without restriction, focusing on their best interest.
I want to repair the world one child at a time.
Welcome back to CATSweek. At the Bloomington City Council Committee of the Whole meeting on March 30th, Program Manager Gloria Colomb Branya spoke as the historic preservation representative of the property owner of the Johnson Creamery smokestack.
We believe as staff that the Johnson's Creamery meets the following criteria for local historic district designation. It exemplifies the cultural, political, economic, social, and I would say, and historic heritage of this community. In terms of architectural criteria, owing to its unique location or physical characteristics, it represents an established and familiar visual feature of the city. Instead of I'm going to say, and it exemplifies the built environment in an era of history characterized by a distinctive architectural style.
Peerless Development founder and owner Michael Cordero also spoke on behalf of the property owner.
We did purchase this property in 2019, and part of the draw was the iconic nature of the smokestack and the structure. It's unique. It did, lend a certain amount of visibility to the site that we thought was very unique and interesting. But ultimately, as it sits today, we have a structure that has been deemed to be unsafe. We've been issued an order. A lot of the discussion around this, the designation, leaves out the fact that the hand department has issued us an unsafe building order. And we're required to demolish this down to no more than 60 feet. We've conducted multiple engineering reports on the smokestack, and that has been determined to be the highest height that the smokestack can remain and still comply with current building code. So I did want to just mention that. We did spend many hours, hundreds of hours, and time and money trying to get grants, state-funded grants, to help repair and maintain the smokestack and keep it as tall as we could. Ultimately, we were not given any funding for that, and subsequent deterioration and another engineering report later sort of landed us here today.
Cordero asked the council to remove the designation of the historical district to the smokestack specifically so that the smokestack can be brought down to a safe height.
The next thing that I wanted to discuss with you all was ultimately the removal of the designation of the smokestack under the this historical district. I did send an email to the council members last week stating the factors, in Bloomington Municipal Code 0808070 calls for the factors needed for removal of designation of a historic district. And I went through and sort of replied. There were a couple that didn't really apply to us, but under each other factor, the smokestack itself would qualify for removal of designation. And we're already going through issues with the HPC where they're asking us to fund a public art installation in the neighborhood of $100,000 to $150,000, which we don't think that HPC has authority to do that, and we won't agree to it. So I don't want this to become a contested issue. We want to get the smokestack to a safe height and not be troubled or, and be in a conflict situation to do that work. So we do hope that as you guys are considering this ordinance, that you will consider these factors and either eliminate the smokestack from the boundary map or eliminate that structure from, as one of the designated structures within the boundary map.
Council member Susan Sandberg asked about the property owner's initial intentions with the Johnson Creamery smokestack and how they planned to incorporate it into their design when they purchased the property.
When we purchased the property, the intention was for it to be sort of a two-phased investment. Phase one would be to design and build the apartment building, and phase two would be to ultimately upgrade the Johnson Creamery office building. And then the smokestack, obviously you see the antennas. We bought it with a tenant in place. AT&T leases space there for their cellular equipment. We did have an initial assessment done, and we assumed that we would have some maintenance to do. But I think the facts are that the smokestack just continues to deteriorate and has moved beyond a repairable state. So I hope that answers your question. We did intend to keep it and thought that AT&T would stay there and we would continue, and it would just be a part of our property that we own.
Hand director John Zodi explained that if the smokestack is taken off the historical district map, it would not be protected at all, meaning it would be legal to completely demolish the smokestack instead of lowering it to 60 feet. Councilmember Jim Sims commented that he thinks that the cost of maintaining the smokestack generates too much of a cost burden.
Being that the issue is safety, and we've decided, or HPC or someone has decided the safe height is 60 feet. One of the things that, and we all are supportive of historic designations, I don't think that's a question. One of the slight things that's kind of always bothered me is, in some cases, is the cost and the expense of maintaining that. So it has to be a partnership. The owners have to be there in order to assume that. We've talked about grants before and how competitive they are. The reality of the matter is it's a very small percentage of people who get them. And that creates more anxiety, more cost for the petitioners. So I guess what I'm saying is, even if it was reduced to 60 feet, what type of guarantees that we can expect that it won't be a safety hazard in the next however length of time, and which would create more expense for the petitioner or whoever is the owner at that point in time, and some other discussions between us and the HPC, for an example.
The council voted to remove the smokestack from the boundaries of the proposed historic district. The Bloomington Historic Preservation Commission still has to meet again before the final decision can be made on the smokestack's historic designation. And we'll have more CATSweek after this message.
I'm at risk of thinking there's just no point in trying. I'm at risk of looking in the mirror and hating what I see.
I'm at risk of regretting what I do, just to join the crowd.
risk of being told not to tell. And you would never know it by looking at me. But with Girls Inc. in my corner, there for me every day, believing in me,
Showing me what's possible.
I can be strong enough to respect myself and my body, to say I can rather than I can't,
To say no with no apology.
to be a leader, to finish school,
To own my future.
to break the cycle.
Girls Inc. believes every girl can succeed. That's why the trained professionals of Girls Inc. are there for our girls every day, supporting, mentoring, and guiding them in a safe, girls-only environment. Building bonds that last for years and change that lasts a lifetime. Girls Inc. gives girls the tools they need to boldly face challenges, to resist peer pressure, to be the first in their families to go to college, to beat the odds. With Girls Inc. in her corner, every girl can be healthy, confident, and resilient. She'll do more than dream about her potential. She'll reach it.
With you in my corner. With you in my corner, I will not be another statistic. I will fight for myself.
For my future.
With you in my corner, I will win.
Fuel her fire and she will change the world. Girls Inc. Inspiring all girls to be strong, smart, and bold.
Welcome back to CATSweek. On March 28th at the Ellettsville Town Council meeting, Town Marshal Jimmy Durnall asked the council to approve the disposal of surplus property for the police department. Durnall explained that a vehicle's engine broke down.
This is a 2014 Dodge that I told you about 2 weeks ago that has engine problems and has rear axle problems also. So it's unfortunately, I hate to see the car go, but it's time to move it on down the line. So we'll hope to get something out of it. I'm hoping it's going to be a couple thousand we get, maybe not get that much, but the car's in, I mean, you look at it from 5 feet, it looks brand new. So, I mean, I've kept it in pretty good shape, but I didn't anticipate the engine going out of it, so.
Councilmember Dan Swafford asked how they sell the vehicles and if the system is successful. Durnall said that they sell them on eBay and that there are often people waiting to bid on them. The council approved of the disposal unanimously. Later in the meeting, Water and Wastewater Utilities Operation Manager Mike Farmer gave an update on the permits needed to start the Vine Street project.
There's a couple permits are called 401 and 404 permits from IDEM, and they're both about water quality. The 401 specifically, and then the 404 is about anytime you cut or fill inside a creek area. And it's basically to protect the waterway and aquatic life. Both permits have to do with that. So it takes some time to get them, and I couldn't tell you exactly when we get them, but maybe by June, maybe a little later. Just depends on how busy they are.
Farmer said he thinks they may be able to start digging by October. Next, Farmer gave a flood report.
Well, we had a 3-inch rain in less than 48 hours last week, and we had a burst about 4 in the morning the last day. I can't even remember what day that was now. I've slept since then, but the creek came up north of town and went over the bridge down by the sewer plant, but up by Stewart property, it hardly went up at all. Wow. So most of the rain was north of Ellettsville, and it caused our sewer plant to run 4 pumps for about 12 hours. So we're looking for a hole in one of the pipes upstream from us, because it was a lot of water at the plant, and it's the most water we'd had for some time, so quite the event. So But we didn't, we puddled in Vine Street, puddled pretty good, and the creek going up towards Turtleback to the south, it was full, and it actually breached both bridges for just a short period of time. It was like 5 or 6 in the morning. So we don't need any more rain for a while, and we're going to get some Wednesday nights.
At the Bloomington Utilities Service Board meeting on March 28th, board member Kirk White shared the Financial Subcommittee's recommendation for the water rate adjustment.
I had the pleasure of chairing the Finance Subcommittee meeting today, and what we have is a water rate adjustment that's Resolution 2022-02. And the reason we have this is the passage of House Bill 1002, which really reduced the tax rate that we pay to the state that the General Assembly passed, the governor signed, would be in effect July the 1st. So what happens now is we need to change our rate, which means we have to have a new filing with the Utilities Regulatory Commission. If we approve this today, it will go forward to the City Council, and they will consider it April 6th, 13th, with a final vote on the 20th, so it gets submitted to the IURC by May the 1st for their deliberation, and then hopefully in effect for our ratepayers for third quarter. And we discussed this and had further input from our consultants and Laura Pettit, our Associate Director of Finance, and this moves forward with a 3-0 recommendation for approval.
Board member Amanda Burnham asked for clarification on how the adjustment would affect the budget. Director of Utilities Vic Kelson responded.
It doesn't.
Okay.
This was a pass-through. This is a tax that we pay to the state, so we don't pay it anymore.
He said it would only affect ratepayers by reducing the rate by 1.16%. The board approved the water rate adjustment unanimously. And that is all for CATSweek. Thank you for joining us. For CATS and WFHB, I'm Annalise Poorman.